If you've never done a real estate deal, like a wholesale deal where you don't have to use any of your cash or credit, but you still want to make $20,000, one thing that might be holding you back is you don't know how you're going to find a buyer for one of these deals. And if you feel that way, this episode will alleviate that concern because we're going to show you exactly how Ryan got his very first buyer and on to sell 400 deals from there.
The DealMachine REI podcast. Everything you need to know to get started in real estate investing.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm here with my co-host Ryan Haywood from Heritage Home Investments in St. Joe, Missouri, who in 2019 did his very first real estate transaction and has done 400 since then with none of his own cash or credit to do these deals. And I've done 9 deals in Indianapolis, and they've all been buy and hold. So we're coming from 2 different angles on a mission to give you everything you need to know to get into real estate investing. And today we're talking about how Ryan presents his deal to buyers, because for me, I don't have a super duper system. I leave for 24 hours and then I come back with a written offer and give that to them in person, and they sign it when they really want to do that deal. But I feel like Ryan might have a better system. So I'm very much leaning on you, Ryan, to provide us how you've done it 400 times.
Well, thank you. And I will say that, again, with everything that we've talked about, there is how you start, and then there's how we do it now. And I think that the data in what you're actually presenting is the same. It's just in how you present it that changes. Early on our first deal, it was literally, we were just giving an overview of what we projected the ARV to be, what we projected the repairs to be, what our asking price is. And we just posted that on, I think it was Instagram, or not on Instagram, on Facebook Marketplace. That was it. And so after that, once the realtor reached out to us and was asking us questions, and they wanted to go through the house, the walk through the house, we talked a little bit about numbers, but it wasn't like a full on, here's me presenting the deal. It was just very generic.
Hold on a second. I got confused. I'm glad you went that route. I said buyers, but I was thinking sellers. I mean, I've never even wholesaled a deal, so we're definitely leaning all the way on you. So, okay, go ahead. You posted on Facebook Marketplace and continue.
Yeah. So once we put it on Facebook, it was just very generic. And this was the very first one that we ever did. It was so bland, so generic, just ARV, estimated repairs, purchase price. That was it. Mm-hmm. And I think we had some photos.
Okay. And if somebody doesn't know, ARV is after repair value.
Yep.
What it would be worth in perfect condition.
Bad habit of explaining what things are, but that's why you are here, to catch those mistakes.
Right. And let me rewind even further a little bit. Okay. So if you are going to do a deal where you're not using any of your cash or credit, you get a really amazing deal under contract, and then you pass it off to an investor who does have cash. And the passing off is what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. This is how you find the other investors that have cash. You have the deal locked up. You have the ability to market it since you have an equitable interest in it, which is because you have it under contract. Mm-hmm. And now you're fishing. It's kind of like fishing for cash buyers when you're putting it on Facebook Marketplace like that.
Yes.
So if you have it under contract for $40,000, you might put it on Facebook Marketplace for $50,000, right?
Yep.
And they pay you a $10,000 assignment fee when you assign the contract over to them, so they can buy it for $40,000. They pay you a $10,000 fee on top of it.
Yes, correct.
Amazing. So the first one was just photos and an ARV, it sounds like.
Yeah. It was so generic. It worked, but I wouldn't say that it was a long-term, like not effective for the long term. What we started to find as more effective was the actual presentation and how you actually make your offer look. Megan put a flyer together. And early on, even then, it was like we were still like learning on what is effective on this flyer. What do people want to see?
Was it a digital flyer or was it something you were handing out in person at
No,
like
it
a
was
real
just
estate meetup?
yeah, it was a
Okay.
digital flyer.
Okay. So
So
what do people want to see? Like if you could skip ahead to what you learned.
I will say this is another thing. I keep saying I will say. Of course, I'm going to say this. So I think that it's important to not have. It's important to have pictures, but not too many pictures, because you have somebody that's wanting to see an overview of the house. So we always make it a point to get a picture of the outside of the house, and then each room inside the house is very important for these people to see. And the last thing is making sure you're getting photos of issues. If there's a foundation problem or if the electrical is stolen, like getting pictures of those so that they know coming into this, okay, there's a crack in the foundation I'm gonna have to address. Okay, there's no electric, I'm gonna have to take care of that. Oh, the furnace, it looks like it's been smashed by a car, which reality is somebody came in and stole all the guts from it. So they know they need to see those issues. Don't sugarcoat the deal by putting only the good things on there, because what's going to happen is you're going to present this deal, it looks amazing, and then they're going to find out that it's not amazing because you did not give them the things they needed to know, which is the next part on how to present that deal. Tell them what they need to know. Tell them this needs electrical, this needs HVAC, this needs a water heater. It, like, giving them an idea of what all the big ticket items are going to be is very important. If you just glaze over, okay, yeah, it's rental
Right. Because
property.
if you send me one deal and I go
Mhm.
investigate it and I'm like, this thing does not look anything like what you
Correct.
advertised, I no longer trust you.
Yep.
And so that's why it's so important to be transparent with issues, because you're not going to trick anybody. And
No.
if you trick them once, you're never going to have a chance to go and do another deal with them. And so that's why
Nope.
in life, I feel like it's so important to be transparent.
Yeah, it really is. That this is a lesson or a podcast for everyone in and out of real estate. Just be an honest and open person about what facts are. Just be completely straightforward with facts, because you're going to save yourself headache. And if you're
Mhm.
in this to just get one wholesale deal and walk away, then that will work. It's a completely wrong way of doing it. But if you're really in it for the long term and you're wanting to build a business and build relationships with people who are going to come back and do more business with you, doing it the right way from the very beginning is the most important part, because repeat business is the best business. That's
So
an
once
absolute truth.
let's say somebody responds back on Facebook Marketplace, like what's the next step? Do you require any type of funds from them? What do you actually go through as a process from there?
It's kind of, there's a lot of steps to it. So a lot of times if they reply, hey, can I come and look at this? Then you have we generally put lock boxes on all of our houses, which making sure that you're notifying the seller that, hey, there may potentially be people that come by and look at this. And again, like, we don't shy away from the fact that this is a potential wholesale deal. For us, we don't necessarily know what the deal is going to be when we get it under contract. I play every situation with an assignment fee in there, but
Mhm.
it's
You're saying you
possible.
might take it as a buy and hold.
Correct. I might end
Got
up
it.
keeping it. So I want to make sure that if I don't keep it as a buy and hold, that I have that buffer in there for my assignment fee should I assign it.
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily know going in. I just treat them all like an assignment. And I always make sure that they know, hey, I may not be the end actual one closing on this. That doesn't affect what you get. You're still going to get your money. But there may be an opportunity for me to work with another investor or a partner investor.
Yeah.
Um, and I may be passing the contract. So just, again,
So do you let
vulnerability.
multiple people go see it at different times if they are going to go be looking at the property, or do you make them go at the same time?
That has not been my experience. We have not had to do. We've had maybe once or twice where we've said, "Hey, the offer period is between here and here, and if you want to see this house, it's between here and here." But in our market, it's not. There's not 30 people that are like, "Oh gosh, go, we got to go." It's not hot like that. Now, I know that other people do that, where it's like, hey, you have this window of time to go and look at the property, but you also have this window of time to submit your offer. And if it's not in
Yes.
by then, you're out. So,
And then from there, if they want to get it an offer done, then what do they do next? You have like a certain assignment contract.
so yeah, they'll submit, which that's so different than how we did at the very beginning. It was they could verbally make an offer, they could text us an offer, they could email an offer.
How about a fax machine? You accept those?
Yeah, I don't have a fax machine, but if you did, we could probably figure out a way to make it work.
So, okay. So, and then the offer is literally just a price, right? Because
that's it.
It's already under contract by you. So
Correct.
they're not getting it under contract again. They're actually going to give you a price, and then you make an assignment contract, right? To
Correct.
assign it over to them for an assignment fee.
Yes, you're assigning the contract that you already have is what you are assigning to them. So they're going to give you 5, 10, whatever for that contract. So
15.
yeah, that's essentially, for a fee. They're going to give you something in exchange for that contract that you have, which again, it's important to notify them what the terms are, that they are paying all the closing costs. If there are any other, if in the contract we had to negotiate whatever, we'll pay back taxes or whatever, those details, you have to relay that to the person that's buying that contract. So making sure that you're telling your end buyer, hey, here's the original contract. These are the terms. Purchase price is this. The closing costs are here. The back taxes are here. Whatever deal that you negotiate, they need to know. That way, when it's again, the whole honesty and vulnerability and integrity is on the line. If you hide details the last second, you're risking a lot by not just telling them everything.
Got it. So you present the offer on Facebook Marketplace at the beginning. Do you still do it now? You just do it with what do you do now?
The landscape of our business has shifted so much that right now we have a buyer's list, and we will
you got from Facebook Marketplace responses, right?
Yeah, yes and no. Like I never really felt like I don't think anybody that we actually found from Facebook actually stuck around. I think those are more flash in the pan. And again, like our journey, like we assigned the first few properties that we assigned, we noticed that they weren't really getting fixed up. And so then it was like a shift of, okay, if we're going to do this, I don't want to just assign stuff. And then like St. Joe is so small. You see stuff so much. Like you could in Kansas City or somewhere, you could assign it and never think of it again because the chances of you driving by that house aren't as much. Here, our market is so small that every house that I assign, I'm going to drive by in the next month. So I would start seeing like, oh, that person that I sold it to on Facebook, they're not even fixing it. It's just sitting there for a year. And then it comes up on tax sale and it's like that sucks. Like, yeah, I made my money on it, but it's still an eyesore to the community. And so we changed our approach a little bit in narrowing down it took time because you do need marketplace and you need word of mouth to find the people that are going to be your buyers. But then building some consistency with them, doing some deals with them, you'll learn who is willing to actually fix them up. Then that's who you really start presenting your deals to. So it is a process. Like it takes some time to build that buyer's list. It takes some time to vet your buyers, find out who's going to be, if your goal is to improve the landscape of your community, or not. I mean, I don't know. Everybody's got a different, maybe your goal is just to sign it and you don't care. And that's fine. You can absolutely do that. In a small town like this, it's like, I don't feel like I'm helping anything. Totally. It's just creating more problems.
It's your reputation. Who buys this property, what they do with it is your reputation in a small town if you're doing it at scale. And okay, so how did you get those buyers lists that are on your buyers list, which I assume is an email list?
It is an email list. it has been 3 years worth of building relationships, of finding, and we've found buyers through Instagram. We've found buyers through word of mouth from people who have bought from us. They're like, oh, that was a great experience. I'm going to pass you on to a friend. So as we have grown, most of the people that we work with today are from a friend, a referral. And the way that we've done that literally is making sure that each transaction is a good transaction from top to bottom. So the process of the assignment was good. The deal was good. They got it done. It's rented. All the numbers that we projected. Now, it's not perfect. Like a lot of times they'll be over budget on rehab or the appraisals. Like appraisals are brutal sometimes. Like we predict an ARV and then the appraiser comes out, walks through it, and you get a paper back that's $10,000 less than what we projected. So there are those things that you have to work through. And it is just a big relationship step. You have to build trust with people so that they will refer you to someone else. So
got it.
I think, from my experiences, it's important just to make sure that when you're doing this, to share everything about the whole process with whoever you're working with, because that, to your point, you're building trust, and then they turn into a repeat buyer. So, and then that repeat buyer shares it with their friend. Hey, I did this. Almost everything that I assign now is to people that are referrals from a friend, or have seen us do it, or have seen their friend do it, and they're like, I want to try it. And then they try it, and it's the most recent one was actually my best friend, who I know listens to this podcast. So it's cool that he's going to hear this story. So my best friend has seen what we've been doing for the last 3 years. He was interested, him and his wife were interested in doing it. And so they did their very first deal with us that we just finished the renovations on this last week. And it was such a good experience. From my perspective, it was such a good experience. We kept everything smooth. The communication was smooth from the very beginning. When they walked through their property, we gave them the numbers of what we projected everything to be. The renovations went well. There wasn't really any major hiccups. There were some small little things, but you experience those every time you do it. And again, it's always easier to just communicate whatever hiccup you're experiencing what in any part of the transaction. If it's the close or if there's issues with the title, just be involved and help everybody through those things. But it was such a smooth, probably one of the smoothest real estate investor deals I've ever seen. And we were a part of it from the time we assigned it. We actually did the renovations for them. And then now it's time for the property manager to do their walkthrough and get it rented. Such a smooth process. I'm like, that is what I want to replicate, because if you find a system that works really good, then they want to keep doing it. And if you get 5 investors that want to keep investing, then you have a good buyer pool.
Right.
You don't have to send it to 100 people.
I like that you said you even stepped in and did the renovations for them because it was a buyer who hadn't done renovations before, right? And you wanted to make it easier for them. So that's like an additional business that you created. That's not wholesaling. That's wholesaling plus, right? Then you like provided some extra services on top, which is really smart.
That's what our business has shifted to from the time that we started to now. That is our model. It is inclusive of, we can do the renovation for you, which helps because now when I send out a deal and I send out an ARV and I send out a rehab budget or estimate, I'm probably pretty close. Now, I still make sure I notify everybody when I send this deal. It is just an estimate. Like, we are not guaranteeing that the rehab number is going to be this. There are, once we get into it, because a lot of people still buy stuff from us that don't use our service. So it's important to give the ballpark, and then kind of just work backwards.
what would you say would be your number one tip for somebody that hasn't wholesaled before and they want to just make sure they know how to find a buyer before they go out and look for a deal?
Put as much detail as you can on what you see. When you're presenting that deal, tell them you see that it's definitely going to need paint. The cabinets are in bad shape. Putting down those, now you don't even have to give them a number of what this is going to cost. You could literally just say, this furnace looks like it's been chewed up by an angry beaver. Probably needs to be replaced. This water heater looks like it's not good. Probably needs to be replaced.
Facebook Marketplace.
Do what?
And they would post it on Facebook Marketplace.
That's what we did for our very first deal. We just posted on Marketplace. So I think that probably that's a good place to start. Or I think we talked about it before, reaching out to another wholesaler that would have buyers. So we didn't have that luxury.
Do you have do you actually have an example that you could just bring up and share your screen real quick?
Of a flyer?
Of just what you sent, the most recent property that you sent, maybe the email that you sent out for it. All right. So this is actually an email that you sent out. When was this? Okay. December 5th. So this was in December, about a month or two before we're recording this podcast. And I see you have one nice photo of this house. Yep. Man, this thing looks like it's in good shape. You also have a company logo.
It really, it's in exterior is in good shape.
Right at the top, you've got your website and your phone number. I love that. And then I like the graphic design that you guys have put together, right? Like price, rehab, ARV, and rent.
Yeah.
That's all the key stuff that everybody should know right there before you even wrote any words.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times people can just look at that and be like, I want that.
Mm-hmm. And then it says, this property is a 3-bedroom, 1.5 single bathroom, single family home, 2-car detached poured cement garage. Wow. Sounds nice.
Yeah.
Built on a separate parcel in 1990. Property will be delivered, cleaned out. Extensive renovation required on the interior. The exterior is vinyl siding and vinyl windows. Heritage Home Investments has prepared a scope of work and construction bid with an 8-week rehab timeline if you desire to use our construction services. Sweet. Can I click more photos?
You should be able to.
And then I like the little disclaimer here. It says rehab descriptions are provided as courtesy. We strive to help investors have a better understanding of possible needs and numbers. Info provided is not an exhaustive scope of work, nor is it a bid for contractor and labor. Please do your own due diligence, as numbers are guaranteed, and they are based on our current market knowledge and our property and market experience with a quick walkthrough.
Yep. That's very important because, dude, people will try to hold you to whatever you say. So it's important to put those little disclaimers. Hey, this is just a courtesy. This is only trying to help you.
Yeah. Okay. And then you've got a link to photos and a link to an offer sheet.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. So they've got 2 different things that they can do for call to action. And for like an offer sheet, I mean, somebody who's just starting out could use a Google form,
Yeah,
looks like it's a form, it says first name, last name, their business name that they'll be buying the property in, their email, their phone number, the property address, the offer price, financing. You've got a checkbox, hard money, private money, using your own money, and conventional loan.
Yep.
And repairs. If your estimation of repairs looks a lot different, we'd like to understand. Wow. So they can put their own box where they can put if their repairs look different than yours.
Yeah. I mean, it's just information for you to use to get better. You really should look at the pictures of this one.
Okay. I'm going to switch my screen over so I can look at those photos. I like your website. Now, you don't probably need a website like this if you're brand new, but I'm just curious, how did you set this up?
This is something that has this is all 3 years in the making. So first glimpse, man, it was so different than what it is right now. But yeah, we have really just in time have just tightened up what we want things to look like. We've looked at other websites. We've gotten feedback from other investors on what they like to see to help them make their decisions quicker. So,
what are we looking at here with the roof on the ground?
So that's actually a earth contact garage. So the front of the garage is open, but the back of the garage is partially underground.
Oh my gosh, that is wicked.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
Do Rugrats ever climb on the roof like this?
Oh, I'm sure they would.
Okay, what's this? The basement of the house or the garage?
That's actually the garage.
It's not very deep.
It's deeper than you would think. You could probably get 2 cars in there. Back.
Well, I meant tall, I guess. Could you put a pickup truck in there?
8 foot.
Okay. It's got its own electrical panel.
Yep.
All right, now here's the inside of the house.
This is where it gets fun.
Looks like little water damage up at the top left.
Yep.
So it's important.
That's actually from the stove. That's actually grease from the cooking surface.
That's better than water damage.
It is, yeah.
All right.
This is one of the nastiest houses I've ever been in my life.
What did it smell like? Tell me that.
Horrible. This house they had a dining room table. Go back. Keep going back. One more right there. Click on that. Well, that's already showed. So right there in the corner, there's chairs and there's a dining room table in the corner. But down below, they have like chicken wire. And that was their dog kennel.
Underneath the table?
Underneath the table. That's where they kenneled their dog. But it almost, it was just terrible. Felt bad for the animal because they didn't let the animal out. Like it just pooped and peed that little homemade kennel. So years of dog poop.
No.
It's so disgusting.
Here's the furnace.
Yeah, old.
Looks like they manually cut holes out of it.
Yeah, I don't know what. That was one thing I didn't really understand.
What are we looking at here?
That is your water main coming into the house. So it's got a little bit of...
it's insulated.
It's insulated, yep.
And then what's this?
This is a foundation problem in the crawl space. So this house never actually originally had a basement. It was an after, like they dug out the basement later on in its life to put the furnace and the water heater downstairs. But when they did that, like they dug really close to the footer of the wall. That's what you see behind that little pink plastic is the actual bricks. So to me, like
they're floating. They're floating up top. They're not supported by anything.
Correct. It wasn't structurally an issue yet, but if you don't do something about that, it's going to become a problem.
Okay, this is on the water heater where it says how old it is. These things usually last for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And it was put in 1991. So, damn, that thing is still kicking.
Was not. She was.
Oh, okay. What's a new water heater? Like $3,000?
No, they're $600.
Got it. No, that was very entertaining. I'm glad you had me look at the photos of that one. So, yeah, I mean, I hope this gives somebody an idea about how they can market a property. This is after years in the making. So I would say the very beginner version of this would be post 10 photos on Facebook Marketplace, get your key numbers on there, like what you're asking, what you think the ARV and rent is, and maybe a little excerpt about any issues that there are, or maybe some of the positives as well.
Yep.
And then
any positives are great. It's always important to show all of that as well.
You could set up a Google form to include, their name, their offer price. And I mean, that's a starter pack right there for doing your first wholesale deal and presenting that to a buyer.
Yep.
Love it. Well, let's wrap things up. I felt like there could be a couple resources somebody might be wanting if they actually are listening to this episode. If they listened on an audio platform only, would you be okay if I handed this ad out as like a PDF, for anyone that wants to actually DM us on Instagram?
I will double check with Megan.
Okay.
She would be the one that would have to.
One thing you can do is if you need a copy of an assignment contract, message me on Instagram at DLeco. Ryan and Megan are at Heritage Home Investments. So if you want to check and see what Megan said about this example ad, you just message them at Heritage Home Investments. And we will see you next time on the Deal Machine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Yep, you bet. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Deal Machine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.